testing can build complex automated tests without code. So over to you, Artem.
Hello, how are you guys? All right, so let me start my presentation. And I'll share the screen.
Yes, we can see.
And I'll start talking.
Okay.
Okay. Test trigger is clearly a codeless tool, but it is very different from everything else you have seen on the market so far. So the goal of test trigger is to allow manual testers to not just record and play some simple things, but be able to create very complex automation using plain English language. And this is one. And second, we are the only company on the market which actually solves test maintenance problem. And I'll talk to that in a second. So on my screen, you can see two different ways of building automation for login page, right? So login to browser stack on the left. This is an example with Selenium, where there's a lot of code going on, and on the right, it's the same way of doing it in test trigger. As you can see, it is very easy to understand what's going on the right side. It's all plain English and understandable, whereas on the left side, it's you have to be a hardcore engineer in order to be able to understand and work with the system. This is main value proposition for test trigger. So you do not have to know how to code. As soon as you understand, can read and write English, that is good enough for you to be able to express how to build automation. And I'll get to that a little bit more details in a second. So another advantage I would like to mention is a lack of reliance on details of implementation. As you can see here on the left side, when we interacting with the page, in the code, in the Selenium code on the left, we're relying on IDs, names, and XPaths. Those are all details of implementations of the page. And if your system is coded like that, it basically, your code hooks up to details of implementation. And as soon as a page changes a little bit one way or another, then your code will break. And this is number one reason of huge amount of maintenance, which usually accompany Selenium code. In test trigger, whereas when you're writing your steps in test trigger, you're writing those steps purely on behalf of an end user, and test trigger execute those steps emulating how a manual tester would execute those tests manually, which is a huge difference compared to how our tools usually do it. We humans have some specific ways of interacting with the pages, and certain things in English mean a little bit different thing for us compared to what engineers want to understand in programmatic scenarios. All right. So this is an example of more details into the problem of maintenance. So the problem of maintenance in Selenium is so huge that on average, we see that at around 300 tests per person per year is just a full-time job to just maintain tests. Imagine you started automation, and after some time, you don't do any automation. All you do is just maintaining your tests over and over again, which is definitely not fun and not effective for everyone. Test rigger customers spend 200 times less time on test maintenance. We are the only tool which provides, in addition to basically almost eliminated reliance on details of implementation, we also is the only tool which provides tools to help you to maintain your code. And this is a quote from one of our customers, Keith Powell, VP of Engineering and IDT. And they, at the start, they enabled their manual testers to be able to build test automation effectively. We had, at that time, we had more than 70 people. Right now, I believe we have more than that. And everybody was very happy to be able to effectively build automation. We were able to jump from below 50%, where we got stuck, to over 91% of automation in just 9 months. All done by manual testers. All right, so how exactly does it work, and how do we do that, and what are those tools that Test Rigger provides to help you to be more effective and maintain your tests? So this is the Test Rigger, and this is example of the script. Here is an example of validation. Click with a relative location. You can enter the data. As you can see, it's very straightforward. And of course, you can group your steps and give those steps arbitrary names, like those groups of steps. For those who know programming, that would be a concept of a function. We call those reusable rules. So basically, it's just a sequence of steps with a name. That's very important. I'll get back to that in a second. All right, so let me show you a little bit more details and explain what I mean exactly when I say that Test Rigger executes steps, emulating how manual tester would do that. Well, there are, of course, simple examples, like you can do click communication preferences, enter product into search products. And however, you can do far more complex things, which we humans usually would do. For example, you can say things like enter test into first name, enter rigger into last name. And if you enable our machine learning based image classification, then you can also say click user, click map, click card, and so on and so forth. A lot of people often also ask me, how do we deal with a situation where there are multiple update buttons here on the same screen? So how would you click on the second one as here? That's why I usually show this page. And we would do it exactly the same way how you would express it in your own specification in English. So there are several ways how people usually do it. Some would say click second update button. Definitely you can do that. Others would say click update and change your password section. That's exactly also a way how you can express it in Test Rigger. Or you can say click update below current password Or you can combine those and say, click second update in account settings section. And there are tens of thousands of other ways how you can express it based on what makes sense in certain business context. So this is one example. So here I just want to point out specifically on this one, where we say enter test into first name. This is not how Selenium works or other frameworks works. So it is specific to test trigger, and it is reflecting the way how you as a human see and understand interacting with forms. Specifically for us humans, this text above, even though technically I have nothing to do with the input below, indicates that the input below is actually for the first name. So it looks like a hint for us, so we human understand that if enter test into first name is requested, that the first name input is actually this one. And this is what test trigger does as well for you. It would understand what you would write and execute that. Another example that I would like to make is working with tables. So right now I'm on table 1 example here, and pretty common task here is to delete a row which contains certain unique ID. In this case, you would usually click on this button here. This is a delete button, erase, or like there's a way to classify it. I forgot what it was in there. I think it would be classified as trash. So in test trigger, you can say click trash below account actions and on the right of SPK2, or click trash in the context of the table in actions column and row containing SPK2. Those are the ways how you would express it yourself if you were to do to write a specification in English yourself. If you were to code it, on the other hand, with other tools like Selenium or anything like that, you will have to rely on HTML structure. And here, there's table structure. There's a second button here. And this is the XPath, how it will look there. And of course, instead of TR2, you'll probably construct the XPath such that it will find the row based on certain text in the second column. However, it's very fragile because it relies on this table structure. It relies that ID is in the second column and the data is in the third, and it's just a second button. So there's a lot of assumptions in here. So imagine now that like this is what you have in your application, and next time engineers updated their code, they just updated the library which renders the tables for them. Nothing else changed. And sometimes in engineering, you have to update your libraries because the existing libraries will get security vulnerabilities. So you're forced to update versions of the libraries which can change how elements are rendered on the page. So let's say we did it, and now it looks like this. From end user's perspective, it looks identical. It will work identical from end user's perspective, and therefore the trigger specification will continue to function exactly the same way. However, if you look into how it is implemented, you can see there is no table structure anymore. It's all div-based. If you try to extract XPath, as you can see, there is no resemblance even of how it would look last time. So what would mean is most probably all of the tests will break in a lot of places and would have to be rewritten from scratch. Moreover, this kind of structure is very tough for automation because it's exceptionally fragile. It's almost impossible to make anything which would be stable in here. So this is examples of problems which test trigger solves for our customers. You can literally, you can write your steps in English and it will survive changing of UI frameworks, migrating to different platforms, and so on and so forth. All right. Now let me get back here. And I'll talk about one last thing before I'll jump into examples. Remember, we were talking about various reusable rules. Let's look into go to registrations. We are in reusable rules here. So what it is you just giving a name to sequence of steps. So you can reuse this name in different places. However, because there is no limitations on what kind of symbols can you use here, as you can see in this particular case, we use spaces. You can use exclamation marks, question marks, which might be applicable in some scenarios, and so on and so forth. You can write them in Chinese or Japanese or whatever, it still would work. And the advantage of you being able to create those reusable rules is the following. So our customers usually do it the following way. In the majority of the companies we work with, they have test cases documented. It could be not necessarily test cases, could be flows, it could be specifications, whatever it is which is used by testers to execute tests, right? You need to somehow test existing functionality, and therefore there's some kind of a description. Oftentimes, it's test cases. So what our customers do is they literally copy their own terminology, which they use in their own test cases. For example, in case if they were to test e-commerce websites such as Amazon, there would be things like register, find product, add to cart, and so on and so forth. And they paste those phrases in here in exactly the way they use them in their own test cases, and outline more specific steps. What does it mean to find a product? It would probably mean adding a search product into search input, clicking search button. What does it mean adding to cart? Probably click add to cart. What does it mean checkout? There will be multiple steps going for checkout process. So once these phrases are outlined, the ones which you use in your own test cases, then it is very simple to just go in and literally copy paste your own test cases, which you yourself have in your test cases library, and make them executable out of the box with as little cleanup as it's technically possible. So there's literally no other way to make it faster than that. It is your own language, copy pasted from your own test cases. And the cleanup would look like you'll probably need to add a login if it's absent, which is one command in our case, built in. You'll make sure that each phrase is on your line. It matches how you outlined it in reusable rules. and probably you might want to improve the validation at the end, and that's it. So this is how our customers were able to very quickly build automation. In fact, a manual tester would build on average 2,000 functional end-to-end test cases, complex test cases per year, compared to QA engineer with Selenium, who would build around 120 end-to-end tests per year per person. So this is one. Second, because test trigger is just a plain text, it's a plain English, plain text. There is no reliance on any implementation details whatsoever. It's literally just a plain text, as if your own specification, exactly the same way as you write in your own test cases. You can write this plain text before engineers created the code in a BDD style. So usually what we see is once existing test cases are automated with our customers, they switch to a more efficient process where manual testers are helping product managers or business analysts to create executable specifications for engineers before engineers write the code. And that is very helpful and a huge jump in efficiency, because now instead of finding issues in engineers' code after the fact, you can provide engineers a way to validate if their code works correctly, plus provide a specification which is not ambiguous, absolutely clean, and there is no ambiguity in how it should work. Moreover, it is executable, so engineers can actually run it and make sure that everything is fine before they deliver the functionality. All right. So before jumping in the next one, I'll answer the question. Does the tool support API and mobile testing, or just application and web automation? TestTrigger supports web testing, mobile testing, and API testing in one test. So you can combine several of them in one test. All right, so I still have a little bit of time, or is just time for questions right now?
Yeah, there is a time for questions. Let the audience ask the questions if they have any, or they can also ask the questions offline in our Discord channel, which we will have soon. And meanwhile, let me share my screen. And okay, audience, if you have any questions, please ask us in a Q&A session, in a Q&A box. And also, please do tag us and share us on the social media platform. We have a quiz winner. If you don't know that, we will be having it end of the session. And also, thanks all for participating in the quiz. And also, we have a selfie contest. We didn't see any posts, so we are expecting maybe after the conference. Please do share a selfie, and also share us. And also, please do give us a shout to all the speakers. And we have various contests. Please do share on various social media platforms by tagging us, hashtag QA Talks, hashtag Codeless Conference 2022. So please join our another session by going into the lobby, so that you can go into the lobby and join us back from the session. Oh, thank you,
Next,
Amir, for sharing the post. And thank you, Artem, for giving us such a wonderful session today and giving us so insightful about test trigger.
so I
And
believe I
any
still
closing
have
line? Sorry.
15 more minutes. So I was trying to give it a little bit of time, but I'll show more. So do you have a functional demo running so we can see now? So there are a lot of videos on YouTube on how to create and do that. And we have forever free version. It's an open source. Everything you do will be shareable. So it's an advantage for you if you are interested in sharing results of your automation efforts. However, be careful with anything which is private. This version is free forever. You can go to testtrigger.com and get your forever free version for yourself to play with it. And feel free to try it on any website you'd like.
That sounds amazing. Can you please share us the links with the audience so that they can have a look around it, if that is fine with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be nice. Great. Thank you.
So this is testtrigger.com. It's just that.
Okay. Thank you. We got it.
Next, the last thing I would like to quickly walk you through an example. How would you create a test, right? Like from the very beginning. So once you register, you can sign up for free. In testtrigger, you can sign up for a free version. If you go here, this is this public open source, which will be forever free. Feel free to get your own version for yourself. So once you do it, then you'll be able to do the following. So let's say this is website I'm interested to playing with.
Yeah.
So what I will do is it will open up a new project. In my case, I already have some test suites because I was showing this demo many times. But you can provide username and password where system can also generate some tests for you. They're interested in one. You can click create test suite and you'll get your test suite ready. Next, you can also engage a helper tool. We have a plugin, testtrigger plugin, to help you to speed up your first test and see how you would express certain things. If it's unclear for it, you can click on resources and Chrome extension. I want to point out that resources have a lot of different things. So there's a documentation, there are example tests from people who have chosen to do open source version. So you can check it out and see, search and see how other people did that. Moreover, via testtrigger actually intentionally used this public version to build hundreds of tests to illustrate every single feature of testtrigger. So if you're searching for something, you will be able to find running examples. And support for paying customers, question and answers on Stack Overflow. Feel free to use that, and that Chrome extension I'll show you how to use. So you click on it, just one button, start new recording. It will start flickering. It might complain a little bit. Just ignore it for now. Just click OK. Give it 5 more seconds. It will still work. And let's do exactly that. Let's search for example, milk. I want almond milk, for example. Then, for example, I want this nature almond milk. Click sign in, add to cart, and click create account. Let's do Nothing in here. Create account. And nothing happened. Wonderful. Okay, we have found a bug on safeway.com. That's great. We'll stop recording. Select Safeway. And as you can see, it literally outlined what you were doing here in English. And that's all plain text. You feel free to modify it as you would like. For example, we will clean it up so it's more readable. And we can remove certain things. There's the application in here.
All right, Artem, we are nearing the end of the session. Would you be able to wrap up within the next 2 minutes? Is that all right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
awesome.
You click add and write. And this is our checkout test. And what will happen is we'll kick off a new server, start a new browser, open the URL which we have provided, which is safeway.com, and we'll load the page, and then it will start executing instructions which we have provided in there. And there we go. This is it going on. So it entered milk here. Click on almond milk, and so on and so forth. So this is how easy it is to use test trigger and to deal with plain English for writing tests.
Lovely. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for this session today and giving us wonderful insight about test trigger. And thank you for the demo as well. So audience, please go to the lobby, and from there you can join our next session. And any closing lines before we sign out?
Yes, feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn. I'm very much open. Let me share my profile on LinkedIn in the chat.
Soon you're gonna have LinkedIn clash maybe with the requests. Many positive comments for your demo. Many people appreciate it.
Thank you very much for all of your feedback. And as I mentioned, feel free to get yourself an account. It is absolutely free forever. Yes. We also provide infrastructure to execute your tests as well for free.
Yes, and also audience, don't forget, if you have any questions, you can ask us on the offline session that is on oh, sorry. Okay, so maybe we should end this session.